February 23rd, 2020. A 25-year-old man goes for a jog through a quiet Georgia neighborhood. Two men grab a shotgun, jump in a pickup truck, and chase him down. A neighbor follows in his own truck, camera rolling. What that phone captured would change American law forever. These are the most disturbing outdoor murders caught on camera. February 23rd, 2020. A 25-year-old black man goes for a jog through a quiet neighborhood in Brunswick, Georgia. He never makes it home. Ahmaud Arbery was doing what he'd done countless times before, running through the Satilla Shores neighborhood. Security cameras captured him that afternoon. Just a young man in a t-shirt and shorts, moving through residential streets. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious, just a guy on a run. But two men in that neighborhood decided otherwise. Gregory McMichael, a 64-year-old former law enforcement officer, and his son Travis, 34, spotted Arbery jogging past their home. Gregory later told police he believed Arbery resembled a suspect in a string of local break-ins. So the two men grabbed a shotgun and a .357 Magnum, jumped into a white pickup truck, and gave chase. They weren't alone. A neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, saw the pursuit unfolding and decided to join in with his own truck. Bryan did something else too. He hit record on his cell phone. What that phone captured would have become one of the most devastating pieces of evidence in modern criminal history. The trucks cornered Arbery on a narrow residential road. Travis McMichael stood outside the pickup, shotgun in hand, blocking the path ahead. Arbery tried to run around the truck. There's a struggle. 3 shotgun blasts ring out, and Ahmaud Arbery collapsed in the middle of the street. When police arrived, the body camera footage revealed something chilling about the immediate aftermath.
One of the officers first on scene recognizes Greg McMichael, who had recently retired as an investigator in the DA's office.
Just stay over there for me, sir. Just stay over there. I recognize you now. Yeah.
Gregory McMichael was a former investigator for the local district attorney's office. He knew these officers. They knew him, and that connection would poison the entire investigation. For more than 2 months, no arrests were made. The local DA initially declined to press charges, arguing the McMichaels acted within Georgia's citizens arrest law and in self-defense. The case was quietly headed toward being buried. Then, May 5th, 2020, Roddy Bryan's cell phone video leaked online. The world saw what happened on that street, and everything changed overnight.
We are seeing new video this morning of Ahmaud Arbery, the unarmed black man in Georgia who was chased, shot, and killed in February while jogging in the neighborhood.
The outcry was immediate and massive. Within 48 hours of the video going public, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over the case. All 3 men were arrested and charged with murder. But the deeper you looked, the more disturbing things got. The scrutiny Arbery faced wasn't new. 3 years before his death, body camera footage surfaced, showing Glynn County police approaching him in a park, claiming they were investigating drug activity.
Less than 2 minutes later, another officer appears, and Arbery refuses to let them search his car.
You're not allowing me to search your car?
You can't go in my
I'm not asking you. Just don't reach the car, man.
You can't have your pocket.
Hands out your pocket.
In that 2017 encounter, Arbery wasn't doing anything wrong. He refused to let them search his car, which was his right, and an officer actually tried to tase him for it. The taser malfunctioned, but the pattern was clear. This was a man who had been watched, profiled, and targeted long before February 2020. The legal fallout was unprecedented. 5 judges and multiple district attorneys had to recuse themselves due to conflicts of interest.
The handling of Arbery's case has drawn widespread scrutiny. The McMichaels were arrested months after his death. A judge outside the circuit where Arbery was shot is now handling the case after 5 others recused themselves.
The GBI's investigation raised serious questions about the entire local response.
Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr announced on Tuesday that he had asked the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to examine how local prosecutors handled this case at the outset.
At the time, Georgia didn't even have a hate crime law on the books, a gap that forced the U.S. Department of Justice to step in. The McMichaels claimed self-defense. They said they were performing a citizen's arrest. Their defense team genuinely believed the footage would help them.
From their perspective, it's that we were wanting to talk to this man, and he attacked Travis. He hit Travis, and what was Travis to do but to shoot him? Will that stand up? Is that viable? Because why were they chasing him in the first place?
It didn't. November 2021, all three men, Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Bryan, were found guilty of murder. In February 2022, they were also convicted of federal hate crimes. Georgia passed its first hate crime legislation in June 2020, directly inspired by this case. Ahmaud Arbery was 25 years old. He was a former high school football standout. He liked to jog. And on a sunny February afternoon, three men decided that was enough reason to hunt him down on a public street. The camera that recorded his death was meant to justify the killing. Instead, it delivered justice. May 22, 2013, Woolwich, southeast London. A 25-year-old soldier steps off the train at Woolwich Arsenal Station, wearing a Help for Heroes hoodie and carrying a camouflage bag. He's walking back to his barracks. He'll never make it. His name was Fusilier Lee Rigby, a drummer and machine gunner in the 2nd Battalion, Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. By May 2013, he was based at the Tower of London as a recruiter. Just 48 hours earlier, CCTV had captured Lee in a far more ordinary moment, grabbing a bite at a local takeaway near the barracks.
Lee Rigby, who was hacked to death in a busy London street, was caught on CCTV 48 hours before his killing. The footage is of Rigby in a takeaway close to the Woolwich barracks, ordering a pizza wearing a hooded Help for Heroes charity top.
The owner of that shop, owner Arslan Boga, remembered him warmly.
He was a very polite chap, a lovely chap. He used to come in, like I say, he used to order his food, just lean on the back. If he wasn't playing the fruit machine, he'd sit down or just have a look, flick through the paper.
That was Lee, polite, easygoing, a regular face in the neighborhood. And on the afternoon of May 22nd, he was simply walking home from a shift. At 2:10 p.m., he stepped off the train. 10 minutes later, he was crossing into Wellington Street when a Vauxhall Tigra swerved across the central line and accelerated straight at him. The car was doing around 40 miles per hour when it struck him from behind, hurling him onto the bonnet before slamming into a road sign. But the horror was only beginning. Two men stepped out of that car. Michael Adebolajo, 28, armed with a meat cleaver. Michael Adebowale, 22, carrying knives. Both British-born, raised Christian, converted to Islam years earlier. Both had fallen under the influence of radical preacher Anjem Choudhury. Both were already known to MI5, and both had decided that day they were going to kill a soldier. In broad daylight, on a busy London street, they attacked Lee with a savagery prosecutors would later describe as a butcher attacking a joint of meat. They attempted to... Witnesses watched, frozen in disbelief. One woman driving by saw the attacker hack at Lee's neck at least 9 times. Then came something almost unthinkable. The killers didn't run. They dragged Lee's body into the middle of the road, and they waited. They wanted an audience. They wanted cameras. This wasn't just murder. It was performance. Adebolajo walked up to a bystander's phone camera, hands still red, cleaver still in hand, and delivered a statement.
They had just done this and they were proud of this. And now they were showing off. They were making the most of all this attention that they had now, all these witnesses, all these people gathering round.
While the killers ranted, something extraordinary happened. Ordinary people stepped forward. A Cub Scout leader from Cornwall named Ingrid Loyal Kennett had stepped off a passing bus thinking it was a car accident. Instead, she found herself standing face to face with a man holding a bloodied cleaver. She asked him to hand over his weapons. She engaged him in conversation, trying to keep him talking, trying to protect the children from a nearby school who were walking toward the scene.
Female witness named Ingrid, who actually ran over to Lee's body. I think the attackers had pretty much finished at this point, but they kept going back over to his body and doing things, maybe stabbing him again. And so Ingrid literally ran over to the body.
Another bystander, Amanda Donnelly Martin, knelt beside Lee and stroked him, refusing to let him die alone on the pavement. 9 minutes after the first 999 call, unarmed officers arrived and set up a cordon. 5 minutes later, armed police pulled up. That's when both men charged, one brandishing the cleaver, the other raising an antique revolver. Officers fired 8 shots. Both attackers went down, wounded, but alive. Police immediately began giving them first aid.
And actually, considering they just committed one of the most heinous, brutal murders that this country had ever seen, the two of them were acting very calm. Like, the way that they gave that speech on camera,
The trial opened at the Old Bailey in November 2013. On December 19th, both men were found guilty. Adebolajo received a whole life order. Adebowale was given a minimum of 45 years. During sentencing, the judge called their actions a betrayal of Islam, prompting both men to shout and scuffle with guards before being dragged from the dock.
After it emerged that his suspected killers were known to intelligence officers, the attack was the first Islamist killing in Britain since July 2005, when 4 suicide bombers struck London Transport.
In the 5 days after Lee's death, Help for Heroes, the charity whose hoodie he was wearing when he died, received over £600,000 in donations. A permanent memorial now stands in Woolwich, not far from where he fell. His family founded the Lee Rigby Foundation to support bereaved military families. Lee Rigby was murdered in broad daylight in front of dozens of witnesses on a quiet London street. But the story that remains isn't the one his killers wanted to tell. It's the story of a soldier who was loved, a community that refused to be divided, and a family that turned unimaginable grief into a legacy of kindness. September 17, 2021. A 28-year-old teacher leaves her flat in Kidbrooke, southeast London, heading to meet a friend at a nearby bar. A 5-minute walk through Cater Park. She never made it. Sabina Nessa was a primary school teacher, Year 1 kids, the little ones. Her head teacher called her brilliant, kind, caring, and absolutely dedicated to her pupils. She grew up in a close-knit family in Bedfordshire before making her way to London to build her career.
Sabina was a beautiful, kind, caring soul. She was kind, caring. She was a quiet, family-orientated person. Nothing's making sense to us. Why was she taken from us? We just don't know. They're inconsolable.
That Friday evening, Sabina got dressed up after a long week of work. She was heading to the Depot Bar in Pegler Square, just a short walk from her flat on Astel Road. Normally, she avoided cutting through the park. She was too scared to take that route, but she was running late. So just this once, she went through Cater Park. What she didn't know was that someone was already there, waiting. His name was Kotsi Selimaj, a 36-year-old Albanian-born delivery driver who lived over 80 miles away in Eastbourne. Police later determined he had driven all the way to Kidbrooke that night. To the best of their knowledge, it was his first time in that part of London. They still don't fully know why he chose it, but what they do know is chilling. Earlier that day, Selimaj checked into a 350-pound-a-night room at the Grand Hotel in Eastbourne, where his estranged wife worked. He tried to reconcile with her. She said no. Hotel staff were so uncomfortable with his behavior they called the police, but no action was taken. Selimaj then drove to Brighton, then on to Kidbrooke. CCTV from a Sainsbury's near the park captured him buying a rolling pin. Police believe he intended to use it as a weapon. But when he got to the park, he found something heavier, a 2-foot-long metal and plastic traffic warning triangle. He skulked around Cater Park in the dark, waiting. At around 8:30 p.m., Sabina entered the park. She had no idea anyone was behind her. The CCTV that captured what happened next is grainy, black and white, but it shows everything.
Walking through Cater Park on the evening of the 17th, as she began her journey to the pub where she was obviously going to meet her friend, and as she was walking, she was none the wiser that a man, a stranger,
he hit her 34 times. She collapsed, unconscious, slumped over a park bench. He then carried her body up a grassy bank and out of the camera's view. Police believe he her there and removed her underwear. Then, and this is the part that shows a different kind of evil, he came back. 10 minutes later, he returned to the bench to pick up debris from the shattered triangle. 10 minutes after that, he came back again to wipe the bench down. Methodical, calculated. Sabina's body wasn't found until the next day. A member of the public discovered her hidden in the long grass near a community center in the park. Her dress was pulled up. Her underwear was gone. She was identified from the passport still in her jacket pocket. The investigation initially stalled. No immediate leads. No connection between victim and killer. This was a stranger attack, the hardest kind to solve. But CCTV became everything.
And actually, thankfully, they were able to do this, identify her very quickly because she had her ID on her. This woman's passport was found in one of her pockets.
Flashes of light caught on camera during the attack, reflections bouncing off the triangle's surface. gave detectives a crucial clue. A sharp-eyed officer spotted a similar flash in another corner of the park, revealing the killer's route.
Which revealed that not only had she been hit around the head numerous times, 34 times to be exact, she'd been beaten so viciously that her skull was fractured, but she had also been strangled by her attacker.
From there, they tracked him. Automatic number plate recognition cameras on the A2 flagged 60 Nissan Micras that used the road that night. Detectives narrowed it down. One of those cars was registered to Kotsi Selamaj in Eastbourne. He was arrested exactly 1 week after the murder. In custody, he paced his cell, held his head in his hands. Through an interpreter, he asked officers a question that told them everything. After his arrest, his estranged wife came forward. She told detectives she was a victim of domestic abuse, that Selamaj had tried to strangle her on 3 separate occasions. She never reported it. Selamaj eventually pleaded guilty to murder. April 2022, the Old Bailey. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 36 years. The judge called it a savage, motivated attack on a wholly blameless victim. Selamaj refused to come to court for his sentencing. Sabina's sister Jabina stood outside the courthouse and didn't hold back.
He obviously carries her to another area in the park where he removed her underwear and he strangled her.
Sabina's murder came just 6 months after Sarah Everard was killed by a serving police officer, and the community noticed something. The response wasn't the same, the coverage wasn't equal, and people weren't staying quiet about it.
To see one of our own just, brutally murdered within, I could see the crime scene from my window, and it was really upsetting.
The frustration ran deeper than just media coverage. It cut to something people felt but were afraid to name outright.
I just feel there's just been a real lack in response to Sabina, and that's why I decided, that as well, that's why it's important that her name needs to be heard.
And the answer people arrived at was one nobody wanted to say out loud, but felt forced to.
Quite disturbed that it is not getting the coverage that it should.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it it's because she was a woman of color, but I am being forced to say that if it was some other case, there have been cases before Sarah's case.
A 5-minute walk. That's all it was supposed to be. And a woman who spent her days teaching children to read never came home. Sabina Nessa deserved better. They all do. April 16th, 2017, Easter Sunday. A 74-year-old grandfather is walking home from dinner with his family in Cleveland, Ohio. He never makes it. Robert Godwin Sr. was collecting aluminum cans on the sidewalk, something he did regularly, when a man he had never met pulled up beside him. The man was Steve Stevens. He was 37 years old, a case manager at a behavioral health agency, and he was recording everything on his phone. What Stevens did next, he broadcast to the world. He approached Godwin, a complete stranger, exchanged a few words, and then shot him dead on the sidewalk. Point blank, no reason, no provocation, nothing. Then he uploaded the video to Facebook, and that video didn't just sit quietly on someone's timeline. It spread fast. Within minutes, it was everywhere, shared, screenshotted, reposted across every platform imaginable. The worst moment of a family's life turned into content.
Steve Stevens made no secret of the fact that he had committed. After randomly killing a retired man and posting it on Facebook, he recorded himself saying he had just snapped.
Stevens made no secret of what he'd done. He drove around Cleveland making phone calls, boasting about the killing with absolutely no remorse.
That's what I did. I killed 13 people, and I'm about to keep until they catch me.
It led to a multi-state manhunt which ended with Stevens committing suicide.
A woman named Ardella Driscoll lived nearby. She was one of the first people to see Godwin lying on the ground. Her account of what she witnessed is devastating.
Community, they have come together right now at the very spot that Godwin was murdered. They are just remembering his life, but also crying and mourning, gut-wrenching cries, remembering exactly how he died.
But what Driscoll witnessed next was almost as chilling as the shooting itself. She watched. Stevens walked calmly back to his car, eyes locked on his phone, clicking away at the screen, as if nothing had happened.
And like that, Ardella Driscoll says neighbors started running outside to see what was going on East 93rd Street. Though Driscoll did not see the actual murder, she says she saw the gunman moments after she heard the shot that killed Godwin.
Just think about that for a second. A man takes someone's life and then casually walks back to his car, scrolling on his phone, like nothing happened, like he just ran an errand. Driscoll later said she wanted desperately to save Godwin. She hoped he'd survive, and she realized just how close she herself had come to being the one chosen.
Cleveland police are looking for Steve Stevens, last seen driving a white Ford Fusion. They say he posted a video of Godwin's Facebook Sunday afternoon, a single gunshot wound to the head.
The whole city was terrified. Nobody knew where Stevens was. Nobody knew if he'd do it again. He had claimed on the phone that he'd killed 13 people, which turned out to be false. Godwin was his only victim, but at the time, nobody knew that for sure. Police launched a massive manhunt. Cleveland, 5 surrounding states. The FBI got involved. A $50,000 reward was put up for information.
Cleveland police initially blocked media access to the street where Steve Stevens grew up, eventually allowing us on the street itself while still standing guard in front of the home, saying Stevens' family had asked for privacy. His childhood home, this home, is less than 2 miles from where Robert Godwin was killed.
People who knew Stevens couldn't believe it. One of his childhood neighbors, Alexis Lee, who'd grown up with him, she knew him as Smokey, was completely blindsided.
It's just unbelievable. Like, you cannot believe this. He is not that type of person.
Alexis Lee lives next door and tells us she grew up with Stevens.
And when I heard it, and saw it, when I heard it, I thought it was a prank. You know what I'm saying? And then when I saw the video or whatever, he was going live.
Lee couldn't reconcile the person she'd known her whole life with the man now wanted for murder. And she made one final plea, directly into the camera, hoping he might see it.
If he is watching, is there anything you want Steve to know?
Yes, I just want to say, Smokey, you know me, we grew up together. And just pray. That's all I can say, just pray.
2 days later, it was over. A tip came in from a McDonald's parking lot near Erie, Pennsylvania. Someone spotted the white Ford Fusion the car police had been searching for.
At approximately a little bit after 11 today, Pennsylvania State Police officers received a tip that the vehicle that we were looking for, the white Ford Fusion, was in a McDonald's parking lot near Erie, PA.
Officers responded immediately. What followed was a brief pursuit that ended in the most final way possible.
Those officers responded. The vehicle fled from that area. There was a short pursuit in which the vehicle was stopped. As the officers approached that vehicle, Steve Stevens took his own life.
Stevens never faced a courtroom. He never answered for what he did. And that video, the one that showed a man's final moments, sat on Facebook for roughly 2 hours before it was taken down. 2 hours. Millions of people saw it.
He then shot him in the head. Police traced Stevens' mobile phone number and tried to make him surrender, but instead he went on the run.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressed the tragedy publicly, acknowledging the platform's role in what happened.
The video of the killing was on Facebook for around 2 hours. The social media site said it removed it 23 minutes after learning about it.
The whole incident forced a national conversation about what social media companies owe the public, about how a murder can be broadcast in real time and stay up long enough for millions to see it. But here's the part of this story that still gets me. After everything, after the senseless killing, after the video went viral, after Stevens took his own life before facing any justice, Robert Godwin's family responded in a way nobody expected.
Our hearts go out to the family and friends of Robert Godwin Sr. And we have a lot of work, and we will keep doing all we can to prevent tragedies like this from happening.
Forgiveness. For the man who murdered their father on a sidewalk for no reason. Robert Godwin Sr. was a father of 10, a grandfather of 14. He loved fishing, he loved his family, and he was just walking home on Easter Sunday. He deserved so much better than what happened to him. And the fact that his family chose grace in the face of something so ugly, that says everything about who Robert Godwin was and the kind of people he raised. October 1st, 2019. 2:48 in the morning, a neighbor's security camera picks up 3 hooded figures emerging from an alley on Pleasure Point Drive in Santa Cruz, California. One of them is carrying a duffel bag, another, an assault rifle. They're walking straight toward the home of Tushar Atre.
Investigates the kidnapping and murder of a tech executive turned cannabis entrepreneur. His name is Tushar Atre. He was attacked, he was kidnapped in his multi-million-dollar California home.
Tushar Atre was 50 years old, a tech executive who'd built a web design company called Atranet from the ground up. Clients like Hewlett-Packard, Seagate, Symantec. He lived in a multi-million-dollar beachfront home in one of Santa Cruz's most desirable surfing neighborhoods, drove a Porsche. By every outward measure, the man was living the dream. But Tushar had recently pivoted into cannabis. He'd bought 60 acres of land in the Santa Cruz Mountains, a property called Summit, where he was legally growing cannabis and planning to manufacture medicinal products. That pivot would ultimately cost him everything.
Found dead on his cannabis farm just 14 miles away from his home. As 48 Hours correspondent Tracy Smith shows us, some grainy surveillance video played a key role in this case.
Here's what happened that night. Around 3 in the morning, employees staying in Tushar's home heard a commotion, loud voices, banging. One guest heard 2 unidentified males demanding to know the location of a safe and its combination. Then they heard Tushar's voice, pleading, asking how they could make things right. Deputies found no sign of forced entry. The house wasn't ransacked, but there was a pool of blood in the middle of the street, and a white BMW SUV belonging to Tushar's girlfriend Rachel was gone from the driveway. A 911 call went out at 3:34 a.m., a full half hour after the attackers had already fled. The surveillance footage told a story that's hard to watch. Tushar, hands bound behind his back with flex ties, somehow breaks free from his captors and sprints down Pleasure Point Drive, 70 yards, running for his life. He's tackled, stabbed repeatedly, and then, in an unbelievable display of willpower, he pulls himself up and runs again. But they catch him a second time, force him into the BMW, and disappear. 6 hours later, investigators found the BMW 14 miles away at Tushar's Summit property in the mountains. 20 to 30 yards from the vehicle, they found his body.
His hands were handcuffed in the back with flex ties, an apparent gunshot wound to the back of the head. He'd been stabbed multiple times.
5 shell casings from a .223 rifle, an assault rifle, were recovered near the body. Tushar had $80,000 in a bedroom safe that the attackers never even got to. They knew about it, they demanded the combination. But when Tushar ran, they didn't just grab the money and leave, they chased him. They took him. They killed him. That distinction is critical.
Tackles him right here. And then as you can see, there's a struggle.
If this was a robbery, why chase him, tackle him, and take him away?
If this is truly just a simple robbery, once he runs away, you let him go.
The investigation that followed was painstaking. That surveillance footage, the best evidence they had, was nearly useless for identification purposes.
Well, actually, no, because even though you could see what happened in that video, it was tough to see who did it because it was so grainy. So investigators spent months analyzing digital data, looking at more surveillance video until finally they were able to piece together what happened.
For months, the case went cold. The reward climbed, $25,000, then $150,000, then $200,000. But behind the scenes, investigators were building a case piece by piece. They identified a blue sedan on cameras along the route to Summit. They pulled cell tower data. They tracked phone pings. 2 names kept surfacing, Stephen Lindsay and Caleb Charters. Both were former employees of Tushar's. Both were Army Reserve members. Both had a bitter grievance. Tushar had hired them through a random telemarketing call, brought them to Santa Cruz, showed them his home, even showed them where his bedroom safe was. Then he humiliated them, made them do push-ups in front of co-workers as punishment, paid them with a check, then canceled it. May 19th, 2020, more than 7 months after the murder, 4 arrests, all charged with murder, kidnapping, and robbery. Cell phone data placed 3 of their devices at Tushar's neighborhood at exactly 2:48 a.m., the precise moment those figures appeared on camera. The same phones pinged near the Summit property less than an hour later. Palm prints belonging to Curtis Charters were found on the BMW. Flex cuffs recovered from Camps's home matched the manufacture date of the ones on Tushar's wrists. And then the confession started. Caleb admitted he was the driver. He told investigators there was a plan A. Sneak in while Tushar was away using a front door code Caleb remembered from his time working there and steal from the safe. Plan B, if Tushar was home, use a weapon to force him to open it. Tushar was home. Curtis admitted he put the flex cuffs on Tushar. And Curtis told investigators something that cut even deeper. He believed Stephen Lindsay had a vendetta against Tushar, that this was never just about money. Joshua Camps, after hours of lying, admitted he pulled the trigger. He called it a mercy killing, said Tushar was bleeding so heavily he thought he was going to die anyway. But a mercy killing is not a defense to murder. He pointed a gun at a bound man's head and fired. They never got the $80,000 in the safe. Based on their own statements, they walked away with a few $1,000s in loose cash, a camera, and a guitar. That's what they took a man's life for. Tushar Atre was an imperfect person. He made enemies. He burned bridges. But nothing he did warranted what happened on Pleasure Point Drive that night. A man running for his life in the dark, hands tied behind his back, on a street named after something he would never feel again. A basketball court, a warm April evening, and a 15-year-old kid who'd never make it home. April 16th, 2026, Roy Wilkins Park in St. Albans, Queens. Jaden Pierre, just 15 years old, walked into the park that Thursday evening. He told his dad he was going to play basketball, but what was actually happening at the park was something else entirely. A water balloon fight, organized over social media, that had drawn dozens of teens to the Nautilus playground. His mom would later say if she'd known about the real reason, she never would have let him go. What should have been harmless turned deadly in seconds.
Another shooting, another teenager killed. This happened in St. Albans. A 15-year-old boy shot in the chest.
Around 6:15 p.m., as the park was still buzzing with families and kids enjoying unseasonably warm weather, a fight broke out on the basketball court. Multiple teens surrounded Jaden. They beat him, punched him, kicked him. He held his hands over his head, trying to protect himself. At one point, someone grabbed his hoodie and threw him to the ground. He got back up, but they kept coming. And then, a single gunshot, point blank to the chest. Jaden dropped backward. The crowd scattered.
On Thursday night, police say Pierre was surrounded by a group of other teens in the park. As people recorded on their cell phones, he was beaten and then shot once in the chest. These are pictures of the shooter released by the NYPD.
And here's what makes this case so gut-wrenching. While Jaden was being beaten, while he was being shot, dozens of people stood there, filming on their phones. Not one person stepped in to help. Not one person tried to stop it. His older sister, 17-year-old Nellie, would later tell reporters they treated it all as entertainment. He was already beat up, he was helpless, and they shot him. EMS rushed Jaden to Jamaica Hospital in critical condition. He was pronounced dead that night.
Detectives spent the evening gathering evidence from around the basketball court and playground.
It is normally pretty safe, but somebody is bringing guns into our community and putting them in the hands of our children.
Younger and younger, they're getting guns now.
The community's reaction was immediate and raw. Over 100 people gathered the next night at Roy Wilkins Park for a vigil. Candles marked the exact spot where Jaden fell. Songs of prayer filled the air.
Tears flowed as songs of prayer filled Roy Wilkins Park. More than 100 people packed the basketball court next to where 15-year-old Jaden Pierre was shot to death.
The scene was devastating. An NYPD officer stood guard near the cordoned-off basketball court. The place where kids used to shoot hoops was now a crime scene.
11-year-old Maher, who didn't know Pierre, said it was important for him to attend the vigil.
It's sad that he died. I saw a couple videos of him. Seemed like he was a really nice kid. I don't know why they did that to him.
Community advocate Erica Ford from Life Camp, a violence prevention organization that had run programs at that very same park, spoke through tears about the broader crisis.
It's devastating. We cannot keep losing our children.
The loss of a 15-year-old from a bullet to the chest is hitting hard tonight for the community that enjoys Roy Wilkins Park.
Kids dying, it's not cool.
A A young witness who knew Jaden from the courts had his own reaction, one that cut straight to the heart of how these kids are processing the world around them.
The young man could see teenagers fighting by the basketball courts just after 6.
I heard a shot go off, so I came running over here to make sure everybody was okay, especially my friends.
He saw the boy wounded on the ground.
I know him from coming over here to play basketball. He's a good basketball player.
Queensboro President Donovan Richards addressed the crowd, and his words captured what everyone was feeling.
When they struck Jaden, they struck every single one of us.
The Attorney General, standing behind Pierre's parents at the vigil, called on the shooter to turn himself in.
To surrender as soon as possible.
Then New York Attorney General Letitia James took the mic. She had a message, not for the mourners, but for the shooter.
Surrender before the NYPD gets to you. They know who you are. They know where you are.
She condemned gang culture and made it clear that law enforcement knew exactly who they were looking for.
The community released white balloons to end the vigil. Jaden Pierre's father, who spoke from within the crowd, called his son his twin.
That was my life. He was everything to me.
But it was Jaden's father who broke everyone. Standing in the center of that tight-knit crowd, his voice cracking with raw grief, he told his son he loved him with everything. His heart, his blood, his soul. That was my life. He said, he was everything to me.
That was my life. He was everything to me. Everything. You know what I mean? I love you, Jaden. I love you with everything in me, my heart, my blood, my soul.
Jaden Pierre was a 9th grader at Eagle Academy for Young Men. He was looking forward to starting his first job that summer through the city's youth employment program. His mom, Chanel Weston, said it simply. My son was not a bad kid. He was the sweetest kid, and everybody loved him. The NYPD released surveillance images of the suspected shooter, a young man with short dreadlocks, wearing a light gray tracksuit and a black backpack. A $3,500 reward was put up for information.
And there is a $3,500 reward for information leading to that arrest. You can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. You can remain.
As of the latest reports, no arrests had been made. The investigation remains open. A park where kids play basketball. A warm spring evening. A 15-year-old boy surrounded, beaten, and shot while the world watched through phone screens. Jaden Pierre deserved better than that. And the fact that he didn't get it, that's the most disturbing part of all.